He followed his ex and froze when she stepped out of a helicopter with triplets. Fiction of the Peace family. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us, where in the world are you watching from today? And if you haven't joined our peaceful community yet, hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you become part of our beautiful storytelling family. Now, let's dive into today's story. Boston was very cold in December 2008, but it wasn't just the freezing wind that made it hard. Naomi Sinclair felt a cold even deeper, inside her heart. She was 19 years old and a student from the Bronx, staying in Boston for school. She stood by the icy window of her small apartment in Beacon Hill, holding something very important in her shaking hands, a positive pregnancy test. She had moved to Boston only 3 months ago to be closer to her boyfriend, Grayson Blackwell. Grayson was rich and worked as the vice president at his family's big company. Naomi had hoped he would be happy to hear the news. But the apartment felt smaller and sadder now, and the lights weren't bright enough to cheer her up. Suddenly, she heard the door unlock. Her heart beat fast. Grayson walked in, taking off his fancy scarf and checking his shiny watch like always. He didn't even smile or say hello. "You said this was urgent," he said in a serious voice. "I needed to talk to you in person," Naomi replied, trying to sound strong. She looked at his handsome face, remembering the day they met at a school event. She took a deep breath and held out the pregnancy test. "I'm pregnant, Grayson." Grayson looked surprised for just a second. Then his face changed. It became cold, like ice. He laughed a little, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "You think this will trap me, Naomi?" Naomi was shocked. "Trap you? No. I just thought you should know. It's your child, too." Grayson walked closer to her, his steps slow and calm, but scary. He looked down at her like she was nothing. "You're just a girl from the Bronx, a student. No big family, no rich friends. You were just fun for a little while." Naomi stepped back, holding her tummy. "I don't want anything from you," she said softly. "I just thought you deserved to know." Grayson gave a fake smile. "No, Naomi, that," he pointed to her stomach, "is a mistake. I have big dreams for Wall Street. This doesn't fit." He walked to the door and took out his wallet. "How much do you need? 5,000? 10, he asked, pulling out money. "Take care of this problem." Naomi felt like crying but didn't let her tears fall. "I don't want your money," she whispered. "I thought you loved me." "Love?" Grayson laughed again. "You? A poor girl from the Bronx? I would never show you to my parents or friends. I have plans, Naomi. You don't belong in them." He dropped $500 on the table and said, "That should cover the abortion and your trip back to New York. Don't call me again." He slammed the door so hard that a photo of them fell off the wall and broke. Naomi sat on the cold floor, crying until she had no more tears. She held her belly and whispered, "We'll be okay. I'll take care of you. I promise." The next morning, Naomi went to the doctor. She needed to make sure she really was pregnant. The room felt cold as she lay on the table. The nurse moved a machine over Naomi's tummy and smiled. "Well, Miss Sinclair," the nurse said, "I see something special. Look, do you see these tiny fluttering spots? Those are heartbeats." "Heartbeats?" Naomi asked. "You mean more than one?" The nurse nodded. "Yes. 3. You're having triplets. Congratulations." Naomi's world stopped for a moment. "Triplets?" she whispered. Grayson had called them a mistake. Now she was carrying 3 tiny lives. That same afternoon, Naomi packed her things, took the $500, not for an abortion, but for her babies, and went back to New York. Her mom, Celeste, a nurse who worked many hours to help Naomi go to school, opened the door and looked at her with love and worry. "Baby, what happened?" she asked. Naomi told her everything. Grayson's cruel words, the triplets, the money. Her mom's face changed from shock to anger to love. "I'm going to make this work, Mom," Naomi said. "My babies will never need to beg for love." Naomi got 2 jobs, one as a receptionist during the day and one at night on the phone, selling credit cards. She only slept 4 hours each night, but she still studied online, working hard to finish her business classes. Each day, she took the crowded train to work. No one gave her a seat, even when her tummy grew. She ate cheap sandwiches in the stairwell at lunch and took notes on how the office worked. She saw things that could be done better. At 7 months pregnant, a man named Julian Park, who worked at the company, noticed her notes. "You have talent, Naomi," he said one evening. "I'm starting a new company. I want you on my team. Call me when you're ready, even after the babies come." In April 2009, Naomi gave birth to 3 baby boys, Kai, Noah, and River. She started working from home for Julian's new company, Park Solutions. He didn't just give her a job, he gave her part of the company too. One night, all 3 babies were crying. Naomi was so tired, but she looked at their tiny faces. They had Grayson's green eyes. She made a promise. "One day, Grayson will see you and know what he lost, but we won't need him. He'll be the one who regrets it." That $500 Grayson threw at her, Naomi used it to start her new life. That money became the beginning of something big. Back in the Bronx, Naomi walked with a hand on her belly, thinking of the 3 little hearts growing inside her. Her mom opened the door and hugged her tightly. "Why are you back from Boston?" her mom asked. "I need to find a doctor and a job," Naomi said. That night, she told her mom everything again. Her mom listened and finally said, "What will you do now?" "I'm going to make this work, Mom. My kids will never beg for love. Not from Grayson. Not from anyone." The next morning, Naomi woke up early, even though her mom wanted her to rest. She printed copies of her resume and walked through the cold streets looking for work. She went to 10 places, and all of them said no. At the 11th place, called Datasphere, she met a kind lady named Diane. "You've never done this job before," Diane said. "I learn fast," Naomi answered, "and I'm studying business." Diane smiled. "The pay is $14 an hour, Monday to Friday." "I'll take it," Naomi said happily. That night, she got a second job from home, selling credit cards over the phone. Now she could help pay rent and save for her babies. February came, and Naomi was very sick in the mornings. Sometimes she had to run to the bathroom at work. Her eyes looked tired, and she was getting skinnier. "You should tell your boss you're pregnant," her mom said one night. "They might fire me," Naomi whispered. "I need this job." In March, she got a small raise. She started wearing big shirts and cardigans to hide her belly. During lunch, she still sat in the stairwell, writing notes about how the office could work better. One day, Julian Park found her. "What are you always writing?" he asked. Naomi was shy, but she showed him her notebook. She explained how she could make the office work better. Julian listened carefully. "How long have you worked here?" 2 months. "And you already see problems we missed for years?" he said, surprised. In April, Naomi went to the doctor. The doctor looked worried. "Your blood pressure is too high," she said. "You're not eating enough and you work too much. That's not safe for you or the babies." "I have to work," Naomi whispered, scared. That night, she cried quietly in the bathroom. How could she stop working when they had so little? 2 days later, Julian came to her desk. "Walk with me, Naomi," he said. They walked outside, and Julian stopped. "I know you're pregnant," he said gently. Naomi felt nervous. "I should have told you." "That's not why I brought it up," Julian said. "I'm starting my own company, Park Solutions. I want you on my team." Naomi's eyes grew wide. "I need someone who sees both people and problems clearly," he said. "You're special, Naomi. I believe in you." Naomi blinked. "Work from home? More money?" Julian nodded. "Also, I'll give you a small part of the company. It's called equity." "Equity?" Naomi asked. The word felt strange. Julian smiled again. "Yes, because you're smart, you notice things, and you work hard. I see how good you are, Naomi." That night on the subway, Naomi felt different. For the first time in a long while, she dreamed of a better life. Julian's offer meant she could leave her telemarketing job and work from home after the babies were born. She could keep studying too. In July, Naomi gave birth to 3 baby boys, Kai, Noah, and River. The birth was very hard. Naomi lost a lot of blood and needed a big surgery to save her life. Her mom sat by her hospital bed and cried, "We almost lost you." Naomi looked at her tiny babies in the NICU. They were so small, with tubes and wires, but they all had bright green eyes, just like Grayson, the man who didn't want them. Naomi gently touched each baby and whispered, "Hello, my warriors. We made it." Then a bill came, $137,000. Naomi's hands shook. Her mother said, "Insurance will help, and there are programs too." But Naomi was already doing the math. How many hours, projects, and years would it take to pay all that and raise 3 babies alone? When the babies were healthy enough, Naomi brought them home. She changed her bedroom into a nursery with 3 second-hand cribs. Her own bed was now just a mattress in the living room. Julian visited and brought 3 stuffed bears and a new laptop. He looked around and said, "You take care of these babies better than some bosses take care of a whole company." But two weeks later, at 3 a.m., all 3 babies were crying. Naomi was so tired. She hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a time. Her body hurt and her eyes burned from staring at work on her laptop. She picked up all 3 babies and cried too. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. But then she looked at their faces. Kai's strong brow, Noah's smart eyes, and River's sweet little mouth. All 3 had Grayson's green eyes. Naomi made a promise right there. One day the man who left us will see his face in the children he walked away from. And on that day, it will be him who feels sorry, not us. Naomi signed a contract for a small part of Julian's company, Stevens Solutions. She didn't know it yet, but in 15 years, that company would become one of the best tech companies in the world. But for now, Naomi had to focus on her babies. It was a cold April morning when Naomi went into early labor. Rain hit the taxi windows as her mom held her hand. "It's too early," Naomi cried. "They're not ready." "You're ready," her mom said, even though she was scared too. The next 12 hours were full of pain. Naomi's blood pressure went too high, and doctors rushed her into surgery. As she faded in and out, she heard a nurse say, "Poor girl, triplets and no father." Naomi felt like she was floating away. A doctor shouted, "We're losing her." Then everything went dark. 3 days later, Naomi woke up. Her mom was there. "The babies?" Naomi whispered. "They're small but strong," her mom said with tears. "You lost a lot of blood. The doctors had to do a big surgery. You can't have more babies." Naomi didn't cry. She just felt a strong need to live for the 3 little lives waiting for her. "When can I see them?" A nurse rolled Naomi's wheelchair to the NICU. 3 tiny babies were in clear boxes. "Kai, Noah, and River," the nurse said. Naomi reached through the hole in the box to touch Kai's little hand. He grabbed her finger. Naomi cried. She saw each baby. They all had the same dark hair and Grayson's green eyes. For 2 weeks, Naomi pumped milk every 3 hours. Even when she was too tired, she didn't stop. The hospital bills kept getting higher, and Naomi didn't even want to look anymore. But Julian was kind. He came to the hospital and showed her how to work from home. "The first client loved your idea," he said. "They want you to manage it." One day, River stopped breathing and had to be saved. Naomi went to the hospital chapel. She wasn't praying. She was making a promise. "We will not just survive, we will thrive. You will never feel unwanted." By May, the babies were ready to go home. Naomi's small apartment was neat and full of love. Her old dresser became a changing table. She had a small desk in the nursery to work. The first night home was very hard. No nurses, no help. Just Naomi and her mom, feeding and changing all night. In the morning, Naomi looked at her mom and said, "How can I do this and work?" "1 hour at a time," her mom whispered. Somehow, they made it work. Naomi worked while the babies napped. She used one hand to type while holding a baby with the other. She hid the baby bottles and diapers from her laptop camera during meetings. Each baby was already showing who they were. Kai was loud and bold. Noah was smart and quiet. River was soft and sweet. "They're so different, but clearly brothers," her mom said one evening. That night, Naomi looked through a small wooden box. It had the ultrasound with 3 heartbeats, 3 hospital bracelets, a $500 deposit slip. Grayson's money meant for an abortion. Naomi had used that money to start a futures fund for her son's school one day. As the months passed, she built a routine. Woke up at 4 a.m., worked before the boys woke, took calls during naps, studied late at night. She was tired all the time, but she kept going. One October night, Noah had a fever, and a big client almost left. Naomi held her sleeping sons and felt their soft breaths on her chest. "They thought we'd fail," she whispered, "but they were wrong." She kissed each forehead. "One day, the man who left us will know what he lost." Naomi didn't know it yet, but her small part of Stevens Solutions would soon be worth a lot of money. Enough to build a new life for all of them. 3 years later, the babies were now playful 3-year-olds. Naomi had finished her business degree. Stevens Solutions had grown fast. One day, she sat in a big office in Manhattan. People were offering to buy Stevens Solutions. A man slid a paper across the table. "Miss Sinclair, your part of the company is now worth $1 million. Naomi stayed calm, but inside she felt like crying. Later, in a bathroom stall, she whispered, "We did it. We really did it." That evening, she returned home to the Bronx. Her sons ran to her yelling, "Mama!" Her mother looked up and asked, "What happened?" Naomi said, "We'll talk after bedtime." Later, she showed her mom the paper. Her mom's hands shook. "$1 million, she said. "We can buy a house, send the boys to a good school. Maybe I can stop working." Naomi smiled. "The best $500 investment ever." The next day, Naomi didn't go to the office. She sat in a quiet cafe, opened her laptop, and wrote, "Triforce Tech Business Plan." She planned a company for fair and kind artificial intelligence. The name Triforce stood for 3 things: innovation, ethics, access. And of course, her 3 little warriors. That evening, Naomi watched her 3 little boys playing on the floor with tablets. Instead of toy cars or blocks, they were using smart devices. Even though they were only 3 years old, they knew exactly how to use them. They played games and opened learning apps that helped their growing minds. Kai, who was the leader of the Triplets, showed his brothers a new puzzle game. "Look," he said, "you have to make the pattern keep going." Noah, who liked thinking carefully, looked at the puzzle. "It goes red, blue, green, red, blue, green. See? That's the pattern." River, the most creative one, had a fun idea. "What if we make our own pattern instead?" Naomi smiled as she watched them. She felt sure about something. These boys were very special, and they deserved the best. Not just at school, but also in a happy place where they could grow and use their talents. She now had the chance to give them that. A week later, Naomi met her old boss, Julian Park, for coffee. They were not going to work together anymore, but they had become good friends who respected each other. "You could stay at Nexus," Julian said, stirring his coffee. "They want you to be a senior worker. They'll pay you very well." Naomi shook her head. "Thank you, Julian. You gave me a chance when nobody else did, but now I need to start something new on my own." "Triortech," Julian said, nodding. "You've been thinking about this for a long time, haven't you?" "Yes," she said. "Ever since the day I held 3 tiny babies in my arms, I knew they would need more than just love to do well in life." She pulled out a folder. "This is my business plan. I have the money now. I just need your honest opinion." Julian read through the papers slowly, nodding and thinking. When he finished, he smiled proudly. "You can be a great leader, Naomi," he said. "Don't waste your talent working for someone else, even if they pay you well. This plan is better than mine was when I started." After that, life got very busy. Naomi looked for good schools, talked to house agents, and started her new business. She hired a lawyer to protect her ideas and an accountant to help her with money. At night, when the boys were asleep, Naomi worked on her business. She looked at numbers and ideas until her eyes got tired from the computer screen. One night, she felt a tiny hand on her arm. "Mama working?" River asked, his green eyes looking at her in the glow of the screen. Yes, baby, Naomi said softly, pulling him onto her lap. Mama's building something important. It will help many people, and it will give you and your brothers a better life. Like new Legos? River asked sleepily. Naomi smiled and kissed his head. Yes, even better than Legos. In the spring of 2013, Naomi showed her business plan to a group of people who could give her money to start the company. One older man looked at her and asked, "How will you run a business while raising triplets all by yourself?" The room became quiet. Some people looked uncomfortable. Naomi looked straight at him. "I finished school with great Julians while working 2 jobs and caring for 3 babies. I helped grow a company that was good enough for Nexus to buy. My kids are not a problem, sir. They are my reason to do this. They help me see things that most people miss." By summer, Naomi got the money she needed. She rented a small office in the Bronx where she grew up. She didn't want to go to fancy areas in Manhattan. She wanted to help her own community. The day she signed the papers, she brought the triplets to see the office. "This is Mama's company?" Kai asked, touching a desk. "It will be," Naomi said. She watched as they ran around happily. "And maybe one day, it can be yours too." That night, Naomi's mom, Celeste, told her, "I'm retiring from nursing. I want to spend time with my grandsons and help you build your dream." With her mom's help, Naomi hired her first worker. It was a smart woman who didn't get a promotion at her last job just because she became a mom. "I know what that feels like," Naomi told her. "Here at Triforce, we care about the whole person, not just the work. Parents are important too." By fall, there were 5 workers. The triplets had a small play area in the office where they could read and play after preschool. It wasn't a normal office, but their life wasn't normal either. One day, a big hospital became Triforce Tech's first customer. They wanted to use Naomi's special AI to help take care of patients better. Naomi ordered pizza for everyone. They sat on the floor eating and laughing. The triplets played with the workers, who loved having them around. No one knew that this small company in the Bronx would be worth billions in just 10 years. No one guessed that 3 little boys who hadn't even finished grade school would help change the world of technology. By 2017, the company had 30 workers, and Naomi moved to a big house with great schools nearby. The triplets, now 7, were doing amazing in school. One day in February, Naomi sat with Dr. Chen, the head of Horizon Academy for Gifted Children. She looked at 3 folders. "Miss Sinclair," she said slowly, "your boys are extremely smart, especially. They're real geniuses." Naomi nodded. She had seen it too. They solved hard puzzles and understood big math ideas. "All 3 of them?" she asked, though she already knew. "Yes," Dr. Chen said. "Kai is a great leader and very good with words. Noah is a math genius. And River is both smart and creative." Naomi felt so proud she almost cried. The same boys that Grayson Blackwell had left behind were going to shape the future. That evening, the triplets sat at the table working on math. Kai showed the pattern. Noah understood it right away. River, thinking deeply, looked up. "Mama, why do other kids have dads and we don't?" Naomi paused. She knew this question would come someday. "Come sit with me," she said. The boys gathered around her on the couch. "Families can be different," she said kindly. "Some have a mom and dad. Some have 2 moms or 2 dads. Some are raised by grandparents. And some have 1 parent like us. But we're strong together. Let me know if you'd like this rewritten in simple English or adapted for a certain audience." "But we had to have a dad to be born," Kai said. "Yes," Naomi answered softly. "You did have a father, but he chose not to be with us." "Didn't he want us?" River asked, his green eyes wide. "Some people aren't ready to be parents," Naomi said, "but we are a strong and special family. We have each other." They seemed okay with that answer, for now. Naomi knew she would tell them more when they were older, maybe when they turned 15. 2 months later, Triforce Tech moved to a big office in Manhattan. The company had 25 workers, and people were noticing Naomi's smart ideas. On an important meeting day, Naomi looked in the mirror. She wore a nice blazer and blouse. She looked strong and smart. No more tired clothes from the past. At the meeting, one man smiled and said, "It's amazing you know tech so well, being you know." And he waved at her. "What exactly?" Naomi asked calmly. "A woman? Black? A mother? Which one surprises you the most?" The man stammered. "I didn't mean." "I know what you meant," Naomi said. "But I've used all those things to be stronger. Raising triplets and running a business takes more brainpower than many CEOs need." She got the money for her company, but not from that man. That afternoon, the triplets came to the office. Everyone was happy to see them. Naomi had made a fun area where they could do homework or play while she worked. She saw them sitting together on the floor, looking serious. "What are you working on?" she asked. "We're trying to help the computer see patterns better," Kai said. "The game doesn't guess drawings well," Noah added. "We want to teach it to learn from mistakes." Naomi blinked. They were talking about machine learning. "That's actually a part of AI," she told them. "It's called machine learning." "Can we learn it too?" River asked. That night started a new tradition, pizza and code night. Naomi taught her sons to code while they ate pizza in the office. They learned fast and solved harder and harder problems. 1 month later, a magazine called Innovate Now wrote about Triforce Tech. The title said, "The Revolutionary Ethical Approach to AI." The story told how Naomi wanted computers to help people, not hurt them. The triplets read it and understood. "You're changing how computers think," Kai said. "I want them to help people," Naomi replied. The boys got their own small lab in the office to explore their ideas. They loved it. One night, Noah saw a mistake in a grown-up's code. "This loop will never stop," he said. The worker laughed until he checked and saw Noah was right. The mistake could have caused big problems. That night, as the boys slept, Naomi looked at them with love. Grayson Blackwell would never know what he gave up. He would never hear their smart thoughts or see their kind hearts. And in just 5 more years, those small hands would write code that would make Triforce Tech the most important AI company in the world. As Naomi gently closed the door to her bedroom, she began to wonder if someone far away in Boston still thought about her. His name was Grayson Blackwell. He once told her he didn't want the babies she was having. He even paid her to go away. But he didn't know something very important. Those same babies, 3 little boys, were going to grow up and create something amazing. 5 years passed very fast. The triplets turned 12 in the year 2022. They were smart, kind, and always full of questions. Even though they looked the same with bright green eyes like their dad, they each had their own special way of thinking. One sunny Tuesday morning in the big Triforce Tech Lab, the 3 brothers were busy working. They stood around a glowing screen that showed colorful lights and moving shapes. Kai said, "It's not learning the right way." He liked to take charge and explain things. Noah, who was more quiet and loved reading, pushed up his glasses and said, "What if we change this part of the code so the computer learns better?" Then River, the quietest, spoke softly. "Maybe the problem isn't in the learning part. Maybe we're not asking the right question." Their mom, Naomi, watched through a glass wall while talking to people from different countries on her computer screen. At 31, Naomi was the boss of the company, and she wore nice clothes and looked very confident. But every few minutes, she looked at her boys with love. "Our new technology is helping doctors make fewer mistakes," she told the people on the screen. "We're not just building computers, we're helping people." Later that day, someone knocked on Naomi's office door quickly and excitedly. The 3 boys ran in. "Mom, we fixed it," Kai said, jumping up and down. "Fixed what?" Naomi asked, smiling. "The main computer brain," Noah explained. River just said, "You have to see it." They showed their mom something amazing. The boys had solved a big problem that even the grown-up computer team couldn't fix. They changed the way the computers learned, so now they could learn faster, smarter, and more safely. Wow, said Ari Chen, the top computer worker at the company. How did you think of this? Kai smiled and said, River had the best idea. River looked shy. I just thought, maybe computers don't need to think like humans. They can have their own way of thinking. That night, Naomi called all the company leaders to a big meeting. My son's just made something that will change everything, she said proudly. After that, she decided to move the company from New York to San Francisco, where there were more computer companies and smart people. Soon, Naomi and the boys stood on the balcony of their new house. They could see the foggy bay and the Golden Gate Bridge. It's beautiful, River whispered. It's a smart move, said Noah. This is our next chapter, Naomi said as she hugged them. Their new company building had big windows and cool rooms where people could work and think quietly. The triplets had their own lab full of fancy machines and tools. One rainy day, while the boys were at school, Naomi did something she hadn't done in a long time. She searched the name Grayson Blackwell on her computer. She saw sad news. Grayson's company was losing money and not doing well. A newspaper showed a picture of him. He looked older, tired, and not happy. Naomi closed the window and felt a strange feeling. Not happy, not sad, just different. She had built something big while he held on to the past. Then a message popped up from her lawyers. The boys' new computer idea had been approved by the patent office. That meant Kai, Noah, and River were now the youngest inventors in computer history. That night at dinner, the boys asked a question Naomi had been waiting for. Mom, Kai said carefully, why don't we ever talk about our dad? Naomi put down her fork. That's a fair question, she said softly. Is he dead? Noah asked. No, she answered. Does he know about us? River asked. Naomi took a deep breath. Yes, he knew before you were born. Everything went quiet. Then Naomi said, when you turn 15, I will tell you the full story. Not because you're not ready now, but because I want you to be strong in who you are before you hear about the past. The boys looked at each other and nodded. 2 weeks later, Naomi got exciting news. She had been invited to give a big speech at Tech Vision, the most important computer event of the year, and the people wanted her boys to show their invention too. This is a big deal, Naomi told her team. No kids have ever been asked to show something here before. She started getting ready for her speech, but she didn't notice something important. On the guest list of people coming to the event was Grayson Blackwell. The day before the event, Naomi stood at her office window. She looked at the fog over the bay. She was now 34 years old, a strong, smart woman who had come so far. She had gone from a scared 19-year-old girl to a leader in the computer world. Her fancy suit and high office showed her success. She was looking at her slides when her assistant came in. Your sons are already setting up for the last practice, and here is the list of important people attending tomorrow. Naomi scrolled through the names, then her finger stopped. Grayson Blackwell. Her heart beat faster. For a moment, she felt like that scared girl again. Is everything okay, Miss Sinclair? Her assistant asked. Yes, I'm fine, Naomi said calmly, but inside she was shaking. Later, her son Kai called on the office intercom. Mom, we have something to show you. In the conference room, the boys showed her a letter. We just got this from the patent office, Kai said. You're now the youngest inventors in AI. Naomi read the letter and smiled big. This is amazing, she said. Does this mean we can skip math tomorrow? Noah joked. Naomi laughed. Nice try. That night, Naomi was working on her speech at home. She looked at a slide showing her old tiny office in the Bronx. Now her company was worth billions. Every step she took had been to prove Grayson wrong. But instead of feeling happy, she felt a little empty. Mom? River peeked into her room. Is something wrong with your speech? He asked kindly. Just making a few changes, Naomi replied. River looked at her. Are you nervous? Not about the speech, she said. But sometimes success can bring new problems. The next morning, the sun was shining. From their breakfast table, they could see the Golden Gate Bridge. The triplets looked sharp in matching suits. Naomi went over her notes one last time. "The helicopter will be here in 20 minutes," said her assistant, Tasha. As they got ready, Naomi looked at her boys. They had grown so much. Now they were not just her babies, but brilliant minds ready to show the world something amazing. And one person in the audience would be their father, though he didn't know it yet. The shiny black helicopter landed. As it flew toward the hotel, Naomi looked down at the city. 15 years ago, she had left with just $500 and a dream. Today, she was flying back with the future sitting right beside her. "Nervous?" she asked the boys. "Born ready," they all answered at the same time. Naomi smiled, knowing this was only the beginning. Naomi Sinclair didn't know that someone was hiding behind a big column on the hotel's terrace. That person had binoculars and was watching a helicopter in the sky. His name was Grayson Blackwell, and he had come early. He couldn't stop thinking about Naomi. For many years, Grayson had watched her become rich and smart in business. She went into the future Julianettes that Grayson's company had tried and failed to enter. The black helicopter with the Triforce logo slowly landed on the hotel's roof. Grayson looked through his binoculars. His heart skipped a beat. Naomi stepped out of the helicopter. She didn't look like the crying girl he left 15 years ago. Now she wore a bright red Armani suit. Her brown skin looked beautiful in the sunlight. She walked like someone who knew she was important. But then something shocked Grayson. 3 tall teenage boys followed her. They were 14 years old and looked exactly alike. Each boy held a tablet. Even from far away, Grayson saw something that made his heart stop. Their eyes. Those green eyes had been in Grayson's family for generations. Now 3 boys had the same eyes, and they were his eyes. Grayson froze. He had never known he had children. He watched as Naomi and the triplets walked across the terrace. People smiled at them and greeted Naomi like she was a superstar. She was going to speak at a big tech meeting. 15 years ago, Grayson had tossed $500 on a coffee table, telling Naomi to take care of the problem. Now he saw what that decision had cost him. 3 sons and a woman who had turned pain into power. Inside the beautiful ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel, people were excited. Smart tech people, news reporters, and business owners talked under shiny chandeliers. Everyone was waiting to hear Naomi speak. Naomi walked through the crowd with ease. People respected her. A college teacher whispered to another, "The Sinclair boys are amazing. They're just 14 and top schools like MIT and Stanford already want them." Naomi smiled and introduced her sons to a woman named Rhea Chen, who owned a company called Quantum Innovations. "These are my sons, Kai, Noah, and River," Naomi said. "They made the main computer program we'll show today." Rhea looked amazed. "Wow, I read your work about how to keep computers kind and fair. That's smart thinking for any age." The triplets spoke with confidence. Kai led the talk. Noah explained the tricky parts. River shared future ideas. Grayson watched from across the room, stunned. These boys had his green eyes. They looked just like him. But they were smart, calm, and full of kindness, like their mom. Grayson felt like the world had turned upside down. He had money and power, but now he saw what he had thrown away. When someone said the speech would begin in 15 minutes, Grayson moved toward the auditorium doors. He wanted to see Naomi up close. As Naomi walked in, reading some notes, she looked up and saw Grayson. Time seemed to freeze. Her face showed a flash of the girl he had hurt long ago. But then she became calm again. "Mr. Blackwell," she said coolly. "Naomi," Grayson replied. His voice shook. "You look amazing." "It's Miss Sinclair, please," she said firmly. "Let's stay professional." Her sons noticed and walked over. Grayson stared at them. It was like seeing himself times 3. "Mom," said Noah, "we need to get ready for the tech demo." "Yes, sweetheart." she replied, never taking her eyes off Grayson. If you'll excuse me, Mr. Blackwell, I have work to do. Grayson couldn't move as she walked away with her sons. She was so different from the young girl he had once ignored. Now she was strong, respected, and loved. Soon the ballroom was full. Grayson sat quietly in the back, hidden a little, but with a clear view of the stage. His phone buzzed. His company's stock price was falling again, but he didn't care. He only looked at the stage. Naomi walked out, and the room clapped loudly. She wore her red suit proudly, standing in front of the big screen with the Triforce Tech logo. The logo had 3 triangles. Grayson now understood it stood for her 3 sons. Naomi spoke clearly. The future of AI isn't just about smart machines. It's about kindness and safety, too. At Triforce, we build technology that cares about people. Grayson listened, amazed by how smart she was and heartbroken at what he had lost. When her sons came on stage, people cheered. The triplets showed how their computer system could help hospitals, schools, and the planet. Kai explained, "Our program learns new things while always being kind." Noah added, "Old AI only wants to be fast, but we teach it to make fair choices." River said, "This way AI helps people instead of hurting them." Grayson felt a mix of pride and sadness. They were his kids, but they had grown without him. When the show ended, everyone clapped. Then someone said they could ask questions. Grayson stood up. "Miss Sinclair," he said, his voice echoing, "I'm Grayson Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Industries. I want to ask how you became so successful after coming from nothing." The room got very quiet. Naomi looked at him. She knew this question wasn't kind. "I came from the same place as your sons," she said firmly, "from the strength you didn't see." People whispered. Naomi continued, "It's funny, the girl from the Bronx runs a company worth $8.7 billion. Your company lost 40% of its value in 5 years. And remember those triplets your company tried to hire? They're my sons." More whispers. Cameras came out. Everyone was recording. "Mom," Kai asked, "is this?" Naomi nodded. "Yes, Kai, this is the man who gave me $500 to end my pregnancy. The man who said I would only be a burden." Grayson looked like he would faint. He tried to explain, "I didn't know if I had." "If you had what?" Naomi cut in. "Given me $1,000 instead? Or stayed just because they were smart?" She stood tall. "We don't need your approval, Grayson. People already know who we are. From the Bronx to Silicon Valley, our names are known. Yours? Just a side note." She turned and walked off stage with her sons. Grayson stood there with everyone watching. By morning, his name was in every news story. Videos of what happened were all over the internet. Headlines said, "CEO of Blackwell Industries found out he's the father of tech geniuses." "Billionaire offered $500 to abort the boys who changed the future." His company's stock dropped even more. Meanwhile, Triforce Tech's stock jumped up. It gained nearly $1 billion. People on TV said, "If he can't make good choices in his own life, can we trust him with a big company?" In the hotel's fancy room, Naomi sat with her sons. Sunlight came through the window. River, the quiet one, asked, "Why didn't you tell us about him?" Naomi said softly, "Because you didn't need him to be great, and I didn't want you to grow up angry or sad." "But we had a right to know," said Kai. "Yes," Naomi nodded. "I planned to tell you when you turned 15. Yesterday made it happen sooner. Did he really give you money to stop having us?" Noah asked. $500, she said quietly. Then the phone rang. The hotel said Grayson Blackwell was downstairs. He wanted to talk. Naomi looked at her boys. "It's your choice," she said. "If you want to see him, I'll come with you. If not, that's okay too." The triplets huddled and whispered. "We want to meet him," Kai said. "But only if it's public, not alone. We want it in the restaurant." "And you'll be with us," River said, holding her hand. So they all sat at a table in the hotel restaurant. Grayson looked different, tired and sad. "Thank you for seeing me," he said quietly. "I know I don't deserve this." "We didn't deserve to be left," Kai replied. Grayson looked at the boys, hungry for connection. I want to make things right, he said. I can pay for college, make you rich. We already have full scholarships, Noah said. And trust funds. Our mom did that. Grayson looked more nervous. What about Blackwell Industries? You're my sons. You could run it someday. Naomi chuckled. Grayson, your company is worth less than what each of my sons already owns in Triforce. Why would they trade the future for your sinking ship? Grayson's shoulders dropped. He had nothing left to offer. Then, what do you want from me? He asked, his voice weak. River finally spoke. Your name can be on our birth certificates for medical reasons, Naomi said, looking at Grayson. But we don't want your last name. Grayson looked sad. And after that? He asked quietly, still hoping. After that, we go our separate ways, Naomi said calmly. Not because I hate you, sure. Here's your text exactly as you requested, written without any changes. So they all sat at a table in the hotel restaurant. Grayson looked different, tired and sad. Thank you for seeing me, he said quietly. I know I don't deserve this. We didn't deserve to be left, Kai replied. Grayson looked at the boys, hungry for connection. I want to make things right, he said. I can pay for college, make you rich. We already have full scholarships, Noah said, and trust funds. Our mom did that. Grayson looked more nervous. What about Blackwell Industries? You're my sons. You could run it someday. Naomi chuckled. Grayson, your company is worth less than what each of my sons already owns in Triforce. Why would they trade the future for your sinking ship? Grayson's shoulders dropped. He had nothing left to offer. Then, what do you want from me? He asked, his voice weak. River finally spoke. Your name can be on our birth certificates for medical reasons, Naomi said, looking at Grayson. But we don't want your last name. Grayson looked sad. And after that, he asked quietly, still hoping. After that, we go our separate ways, Naomi said calmly. Not because I hate you, Grayson, but because there's no place for you in the life we've made. That's not fair, Grayson said, his voice small. Fair? Naomi leaned forward. Her eyes sparkled with strong feelings. Fair would have been you being there when I almost died giving birth to your sons. Fair would have been you helping when our babies were sick and I worked 3 jobs. Fair would have been you doing more than just giving your DNA. She stood up. But life isn't always fair, Grayson. The difference is, some of us take the hard times and build something amazing. Others, she looked him in the eyes, realize too late what they threw away. As Naomi and her 3 sons walked out of the restaurant, Grayson stayed sitting. He looked out the window and saw a helicopter waiting, the Triforce Tech helicopter. It reminded him of everything he had lost. Hours later, back in his office in Boston, Grayson watched Blackwell Industries stock fall lower and lower on his computer screen. His phone rang again and again. Board members, investors, even his fiancée, the daughter of a rich Boston family, wanted answers about the rumors. Then one more news story popped up on the screen. It said, Triforce Tech announces $2 billion international expansion. CEO Naomi Sinclair and sons to ring NASDAQ bell on Monday. Grayson turned off the monitor and sat in the dark. He finally understood that his biggest mistake wasn't losing his business. It was losing the chance to be part of the family Naomi had built, a family she made without him, and maybe to prove him wrong. Far away in the fancy helicopter, Naomi watched her sons sleeping peacefully. She thought back to the time she had nothing but $500 in her pocket. Now, she didn't need anyone's approval. She had created something amazing from being left behind. She didn't get justice by getting angry. She got it by building a beautiful life. That was real victory. 1 year later. The sun was setting over San Francisco. The city sparkled, and Naomi stood in her big office looking out the window. The Triforce Tech Tower stood tall with its shiny 3-pointed logo. Now 35 years old, Naomi had built a company worth over $10 billion. It was changing how people worked with computers and artificial intelligence. Her assistant came in and said, "Your Forbes interview is tomorrow at 9. You'll be on the cover of the tech issue. Naomi looked at the questions and said, make sure they know, no new pictures of my boys. They can talk about them, but no photos. Ever since the public meeting with Grayson, she had kept her son's privacy safe. Mom, a voice called. It was Kai, one of the triplets. He had grown taller and stronger. His brothers, Noah and River, followed close behind. All three looked serious. We were checking the money reports, Noah said, and we saw something strange, River added, holding up his tablet. On the screen it said, Blackwell Industries might go bankrupt. Stock drops 80 cents. Naomi looked surprised. Why are you watching Blackwell Industries? The boys looked at each other the way they always did when they had something important to say. We've been thinking, Kai said slowly, about Grayson Blackwell. Naomi's face changed a little. After they met him a year ago, they had never talked to him again. He was on their birth certificates, but they had kept Naomi's last name, Sinclair. What about him? She asked. What if we bought Blackwell Industries? Kai asked. It sounded like something they had planned carefully. Naomi looked shocked. Buy Blackwell Industries? Why would we do that? That company is everything I walked away from. River, the most caring of the three, stepped forward. Not to get revenge, Mom, but to make it better. We could turn it into something that helps people, Noah said. The company still has value. It just needs a new vision. We could create something called the Triforce Foundation for Inclusive Innovation, Kai added. It would help young people from poor areas, like you were in the Bronx or Boston, who have big dreams but no support. Naomi looked at her sons with so much love. Most teenagers worried about video games or clothes, but her boys were thinking about changing the world. You are better people than I ever dreamed of raising, she said softly. That night at dinner, they talked more about it. Using only a little money from Triforce, they could buy Blackwell Industries and use it to help poor kids learn about technology and business. I can't help but notice the irony, Naomi said with a smile. Using the company he chose over you boys to help kids like you once were. It's not about irony, River said. It's about turning something broken into something good. 2 weeks later, Naomi's legal team started talking secretly with the Blackwell Industries board. The company was in big trouble. Bankruptcy was close. The board didn't trust Grayson anymore after the scandals and was ready to sell. In Boston, Grayson sat in his lonely office. He had papers for bankruptcy on his desk and a half-empty bottle of whiskey beside them. He looked much older than just a year ago. He had lost his fiancée, his status, and the company his father had built. Now it was falling apart. His phone rang. Grayson Blackwell, he answered. This is Isabel Chen from Triforce Tech. We have a business proposal for you. The next day, Grayson, tired and messy, sat in the Blackwell Industries meeting room. He looked around. It once was a place of pride. Now it felt empty. Across the table sat Naomi and the triplets. They looked confident in simple, fancy suits. Grayson couldn't look straight into their green eyes, the same eyes he had. Noah spoke first. We want to buy Blackwell Industries. We'll turn it into the Triforce Foundation for Inclusive Innovation. Grayson's mouth dropped open. They explained how they would use the company to help kids from poor areas learn technology and become leaders. Why? Grayson finally asked. Why not just let it die after everything I did? Because that would be wasteful, Noah said. And mean, added Kai. And it wouldn't help anyone, River said. Naomi smiled gently at her sons, then looked at Grayson. We want to hire a director who knows old business systems, someone who can help bring new voices into powerful places. Grayson looked confused. You want to hire me? With strict rules and goals, Noah said. Your experience is useful, even if your choices weren't. You know how the old system works, Kai explained. You can help young people break into it. Grayson didn't know what to say. He had expected them to be angry, but instead they were offering him a chance to do something good. Why would you trust me? He asked. Trust is something you earn, Naomi said. This job is your chance to start earning it. 5 years later, the Triforce Foundation had helped 1,000 students graduate. The big ceremony happened in the new Blackwell Building in Boston. Once a place for rich people only, now it was full of hope. Grayson Blackwell, now the director of the foundation, stood on stage. His hair was gray, but he stood tall and proud. He gave scholarships to students from poor neighborhoods. Where you come from doesn't decide who you can be, he said, and you all deserve the chance to succeed. Naomi sat in the audience. Her heart felt full. The triplets, now 20 and studying at MIT and Stanford, sat beside her. They were already changing the world. She watched Grayson help a shy teenager from the Bronx, a place she once called home, and smiled. She thought about how far they had all come. They had taken pain and turned it into power. They didn't win by hurting others, they won by helping. And as her sons clapped beside her, Naomi realized the real victory wasn't showing Grayson what he lost. It was building something beautiful from nothing and changing the future forever.